Same. Hello, welcome to episode 2 of We're All Humans Here. I'm Mike or Trips, whichever you prefer, and I'm joined here by the lovely Ellen. Hey, Ellen.
Hello.
You like Ellen?
This is so hard.
This is what I mean by when you start recording something. Like, you can talk so normally beforehand, and as soon as you press record, everyone's like, I feel weird now. Yeah, just have some water. I'll carry on with the intro. Basically,
I will.
episode 2. Wait, you okay? You're like choking on
Yeah.
water. Okay. So basically, welcome to episode 2. We're all humans here. A new podcast show that we're starting, or I'm starting, exploring the lives and perspectives and stories of human beings from all walks of life. But very excited to be joined by Ellen. Hello, Ellen. Welcome in. Welcome in.
Hello, hello.
I
I
love it so
cannot do this normally. I cannot. Can we just skip the hello part?
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
skip the
just-
hello part. Absolute chaos intro. But so to kind of officially to introduce you to people that may not know you, you are a student living in Austria, a law student. What year are you in?
I'm actually in first year, but second semester now.
Okay, so first year law student, kind of part-time streamer, co-worker. Oh, wait, I've got the wrong page of notes over there.
I love it.
I miss being 19, right? I miss it so much because everything was kind of new and kind of figuring. Don't get me wrong, absolutely terrifying, but I was in a place where I was still trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. So it's kind of interesting to see, or it'd be interesting, I hope it'd be interesting to talk to you about kind of where you're at now and your experiences and your stories, because obviously what you've been through the last couple of years is very different to what I've been through, especially like as from a student standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, from like a COVID standpoint. So kind of where are you? I think that would probably be the best place to start. Like, where are you now? What are you doing? What kind of position are you in?
So, I'm in the second semester of my studies. Nice. But just to pick on, like, I'm still not sure if I'm gonna write studies, like, gonna write course. Is this really the degree I want to go for? Because I feel like being, I couldn't like develop really what I want to do or like find the right direction because I didn't have the option to try a lot of things because of like COVID and stuff. And I still talk to my therapist about it that I'm like not really sure what I want to do. So, but I think I stick with law for the moment because it's a safe choice. And yeah, I'm like to go for the safety route.
When you say I didn't have a lot of options because of COVID, I personally, I know a lot of other people who, like pre-COVID, went through university and like the education system would have had choices to do it, to do things. Like when I was going, I didn't go to uni, but when I was around the sort of age where I could go to uni, it was like you've got all these options. You can basically do whatever you want. So for you, what was it like when you went through school? You were going to uni, like when you said you didn't have a lot of choices.
I listened to my parents a lot. Like my parents put me into like piano classes. I did kind of well there, so my parents kind of expected me to do something with like music. But it put me through a lot of pressure because I hate being on stage, like performing piano. My hands get really shaky, and I just got a stage fright, I guess. Then I got really into like movie editing and like film cinematography. And I decided to enroll into like a cinematography course, but I realized through after like a lot of talks and like discussions with my parents that it's really an unsafe choice. Like how many people that graduate from like film school really get into the film industry. I have a sibling, my sister. She's a doctor right now. She's like studying to be a doctor, and you know the Asian stereotype. My mother was like, "How about you go into law?" And law is always something that interested me. Like, who doesn't want to know their rights? Like, sometimes we don't get to know what we are allowed to do and what we aren't. So I thought it was really interesting. Like going into like the first semester, it was super interesting to get to know new things. And but a lot of choices that I wanted to make were just unsafe choices, and I really had to pick something that I felt safe in because I would feel panic. And I think this work will probably like cut into like mental health stuff is like I suffer from anxiety and like depression, And I think what made me make this choice in the first place was like, I don't know if I'm going off topic, but like, I hate doing things where I feel unsafe, and then I will panic during sleep, overthink, and I always want to make others feel proud of me. Like that's one of the biggest goals of me, like having my mom say I'm proud of you. So I just did what she wanted me to do, and now I'm like into the Asian stereotype. Like the first daughter is a doctor, and I'm like on the road to become a lawyer. Yeah.
That's a lot to unpick because obviously it seems like there's a very no, I don't want to say divide, but there's obviously a part of you that wants to do creative things, and there's obviously a part of you that wants to make your parents proud, that wants to, like you said, play it safe. You want to say, well, if I do this, I can kind of be safe with it. There's like almost a guaranteed out, like you know what the outcome's going to be. Whereas if you did piano or music or film editing, you could be grinding for years and nothing kind of happens. Do you regret taking law? Would you like, or are you just like, okay, this is the path I'm on. This is where I'm going to go.
I think in the beginning I kind of regretted it because it was like a full load to study. Like I barely went out and just study all day because I did fail my first exam that I ever took in uni because I just wasn't expecting this workload that I have to put through because in high school I didn't have to work that hard because I felt like school was kind of easier for me. I mean, it was still stressful, but it wasn't like I had to study like the weekend before an exam and it would be fine. But for uni, you have to study like a lot more for the exams, and I didn't expect that. And then I was like, oh, should I really go into law? It's so exhausting, and my friends did pass one exam, like they did another one, but they still passed it, and I felt so, I don't know how to say it, but I feel so sad about it, and I really wanted to quit because it was always going through my head like this wasn't my choice that I did myself, it was the choice that my mother made for me, and I was always like I had to quit. I want to do what I want to do, but after like thinking so much, I really think I will just stick with it because it's right now I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for my parents anymore.
That's quite a big shift, though. That's quite like, when did you find out that you, or what was the process from going from doing it for your parents to doing it for yourself?
Oh yeah, I've really think about it.
No, take your time.
Yeah, but I think, wait, I went through a lot of tests and like personality tests with my therapist. We did like IQ tests, personality wise, like where are my strengths? And from like IQ wise, she said like no problem, you can memorize stuff easily because I was good in it. Like memorizing stuff I knew it from high school. I just like read through the stuff before the exam. I could actually ace the exam. But through my personality test, I realized that I'm like really interested in a lot of things, and I was asking my sister like, yeah, why should I do law? Like tell me things about me, tell me my strengths. Like can you help me? And she just told me like this, you have to pick something if you want to be safe that is in our range. Like of course I could go into like cinematography, but I don't have the financial needs to support myself. Like I could go to LA, get a full ton of loans, study there, and then maybe I end up in like, I don't know, in a film industry, but still I have to pay for so many stuff, so many things that I could have provided here. And of course taking risks are great and stuff, but I'm just not the type of person that likes to do it. Like if I had the courage I would do, but I would have to be in a more stable mental space. And yeah, so that's how I made the choice, because I was like trying to convince myself like, hey, it's not a bad degree that you're doing, and it is like up to my level right now. Like I don't want to sound like so depressing, but like I don't feel like I have another choice right now. Oh, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
So I'm putting it into perspective of someone who's listening, who's maybe kind of stuck in their life, like trying to figure out what they're doing, perhaps in a place where they are doing things they may or may not want to do for themselves or for other people, and they're kind of trying to figure out their way. And it sounds like you're very much in that spot where you're trying to figure out like what you're doing, where, like, it's very powerful that you're going where my strengths are, like what am I good at, what, like, is this actually something that's good for me? Like, you're very much in a position where you're exploring what's going on and also doing the work at the same time. Like you said, you've kind of looked at law and you've said, okay, this is a safe, it's a safe bet. Like, there's something that can come from it, or it's at least a lot safer than, like you said, going to LA, dropping everything, and going out to study something that may or may not pay off in the long term. Especially if you're capable of doing it, like you said, according to your strengths and stuff. But it seems like your journey's very much been, like you said, intertwined with your mental health. So you said you had anxiety and depression. Is that something like recent, or is that something that kind of goes back quite far?
It goes definitely way back then to my childhood, I guess. I was always like very self-conscious because I'm Asian and I grew up in like around very European people. Like all my friends are not Asian. Like only a few friends are Asian that I made like last few years. But I grew up in a class full of people that don't look like me. And I think it started back then when I got bullied in primary school actually. And they just bullied me because I look different. And they were like making fun of my eyes, my looks. I don't think they were able to bully me because of my accent, because I grew up here, so like in Austria, I spoke German fluently without an accent, but they just made fun of me even though I didn't have an accent, and I just look different because of my eyes. Like I don't have those typical Asian eyes, like the monolids, and they were just always like picking fun of me, pulling their eyes back so they have this, and it even got that far that I think where I really met the down point of like really having the first symptoms of depression was like when they faked being my friend for a whole year just to like copy homeworks. And you have to think this was like about kids with 7 years, like those, I was 7 back then, so like all those other children were 7 as well, so I didn't expect them to be that mean to me, and my mother didn't either, so she was really surprised when everything happened. But the one day I got really bullied that bad that my dad picked me up and I was late like a half an hour, and those bullies were like kind of forcing me into like in like the edge of like a room, in a corner of a room, oops, and
Fuck.
they kind of just told me stuff that they disliked about me, which I think was the starting point of like my depression and like panic, because I didn't know who to trust. And I just felt like I lost so much and I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. And I had to go like 3 more years with them, and my parents didn't even believe me that I was bullied. And yeah, not a
Shit.
bright start.
Wow. I didn't know any of that. That's it. And especially now that you say it, it's like I didn't. I've very much grown up in a place where like this, everyone's like British, like white British, Caucasian, especially like in a kind of remote area where I am, and it's like I've never had to experience anything like that. I'm very naive to it, and like completely understand it. It must have been absolutely terrifying and isolating as well to be in like that kind of position. So it happened when you were obviously younger, going through primary school. Is it something that was also mirrored through maybe like I don't know how the school system is, like upper school, like higher education?
So I was actually in a school that went from primary school up to high school, like till I graduate. So I had to stick with those people for like 12 years of my life. And I just recently graduated like a year ago. So it's not that long, but during middle school, like we call it all the same. Actually, we don't divide middle school and high school. We just have 8 years through. But during middle school, there were like guys that made fun of me and did those things. I I think back then I was just like, I thought like it's okay that they do it because that's just how I am and this is what I have to cope with. I don't know what made me say those things to myself, but this really made my mental health go really back down again. And then I have to add, like, I was under so much pressure because I'll have to get good grades because, like, the Asian stereotype of like having good grades, and you get your good grades because you're Asian and not because of the hard work you put in. And this put me under so much pressure to like excel on those exams and do well because even the teachers kind of expected it from me because I have an older sister and she was like doing so well in school, and I was never a person that liked to study a lot, but I got into it because I had to. And like I didn't have to, like if I look at it right now, but like back then I felt like I have to do as well as my sister. And even my teacher was sometimes like calling me my sister's name, and this put me under so much pressure. And then people made fun of me because Asian. But I still had friends, but they didn't quite defend me because I understand that they would want to be bullied as well. But it didn't went that bad. It was just 2 years. I mean, and then after that, it went actually better because I think they grew up, right?
Kids are fucking
Yeah, but it's not
assholes.
that
Like,
bad.
I mean, it's crazy for me to even like put like you seem to have dealt with it so well. I know, obviously, like you said, there's like depression and there's anxiety and there's a lot of pressure, and it can feel very like messy and scary. But the fact that you are kind of where you are now, but you're so grounded, you're so compassionate towards other people still. Like, you could very easily have become very bitter towards people and been like, fuck everybody, like, fuck this, fuck that. Was there any stages like that over the years where you were just like, just fuck everyone? Like, maybe like anger, or
No,
like
not
resentment?
really.
Fuck, wow, that's
I was
powerful
never a
though.
person who was ever angry. I mean, I do get angry, don't get me wrong. Like, if people say something bad about my parents or my sister or even my friends, I'll get easily angry. But I don't express anger most of the time. I think. I can be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but I
Like
think
blackout and go into a
I
rage.
kind of looked, maybe, I don't know, but I don't think I ever did. I mean, I fight with my parents, of course. There's something different, but in public, I tend not to get angry and express my anger, because I kind of look through the vicious cycle of bullying. Because usually bullies are people that were bullied before, or they need to feel like on the top and stronger, and that's why they have to push someone down. And from that, I just learned, like, because like bullies usually don't just bully you, they bully multiple people. I don't know if that's the case, but in my school it was. And I just, like, with one of the bullies, I was friends for like a year after. I don't know how it got to turn to be like this because I was seated next to him. We just had to talk and it was fine. Like, I just feel like those people need kind of a little bit help as well. They
Wow.
yeah, I think I had to grow up really fast because it was just something I need to go through. I mean, didn't need, but yeah, I went through, and it's fine.
It's it literally
Because I
is.
mean, everyone has their reasons, right, to do things.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I think a lot of bullies are like kind of bullied by their parents, and then they take the tactics that their parents kind of used and then apply that like in school. So it's very much like, because that's what they're learning. That's like their home environment. So you're right. I still think it's phenomenal how you've managed to keep so much compassion for other people, despite like you're what 19. So for the last like 12 years, which is like more than half your lifetime, you've been subjected to like these people like putting you down, because it's so easy to pick on someone who's different, because it's like such, especially when if you're in a school, and you look a little bit different from everybody else, like it's very obvious. And the fact that you've managed to, you're like, oh, okay, but these people are probably going through something, because it's very superficial as well. Like you said, if you sat down next to your bully and you talk, the bully is very much like, oh, this girl's just a person. Like, that you can get on. Like you said, you can become friends because it's like, oh, you're actually just a human being, rather than like just looking at something at face value. I'm kind of blown away with how like compassionate you've managed to stay throughout all of it. Like when you say you kind of learned those lessons of like someone's going through something and to be compassionate, where did you learn that from? Was it just like something yourself? Did you speak to people about it? Like watching YouTube videos or anything like that?
No, definitely not through YouTube. I was into Minecraft back then. I'm not I'm not sure. Like I feel like I learned it from my parents because
I
my
think
parents used to fight a lot when I was younger. I was always in the middle of it, and I just kind of saw the pain through it, you know? Like it was definitely not easy to see them fight, but it made me like realize those things. Oh god.
there's always kind of two sides to a story.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like my sister was such a great role model for me because she, I'm not sure if she taught me this, but we talk a lot. And I put, she just gave me the insight because she was bullied as well. And then I thought, like, why do people bully? And I think that's how I got into like reading things through it, even if it's the younger age. Yeah, because I had to grow up really fast.
And you're kind of like looking out for yourself, learning how to look out for yourself. Obviously with like the guidance, it sounds kind of like the mentorship. Like I'm sure you and your sister were kind of together, like bonded a lot over the years because she would have needed you, you've needed her, and obviously you're learning for yourselves as well. Like both teaching each other. It's kind of it's always really weird, isn't it? Because with like traumatic things like being bullied or like hard times, there's always like beautiful things that happen. Like your relationship with your sister is one of those things that can't be put into words. It seems like you are so strong together because of it was
Yeah.
like hard to go through. So it's like it's almost like there's good and there's bad in everything. I'm still I'm still blown away by like just like how you
Yeah,
are.
just to like, I think one thing that made me realize this, or like made me think that way, it was like I don't want to put anyone in that situation I was in, because I cried a lot, and I still do. But like back then, I cried a lot, and I would never wish anyone to cry that much or feel like that way about themselves, because I have to say like I really hated who I was back then. Like I was like I don't want to be me. I want to be like the others. I said those things to my parents, which I feel so embarrassed these days. Like when I look back, I'm really ashamed of myself because I did say things out of anger. Now I think I did express my anger, but I did say things that I didn't meant. And looking back, and I think back then as well, I don't want to put anyone in that position that I was in because it's just so painful. Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's
And I don't think I had the mental capacity to put someone that low. And I wouldn't even
mm.
feel confident even if I was at the top because I was just so beaten down. Oh, I just made a fist.
Power. No, like it's I like you say, it feels like you matured a lot faster. You've kind of learnt lessons that a lot of people are learning like later on in life, like very, very early on. If you when you say like you felt like shame, you felt anger for like the things that you said, I think it may be kind of valid though to feel those things, especially when you are younger and it's so hard to express those feelings. Like you don't have the words for it, you don't understand truly like what they are, and then obviously over time you've sort of developed a understanding of what things are, like how things link together. I mean hindsight as well onto certain situations. Do you think that the or like understandably obviously anxiety and depression became a thing from back then till now, when was it that you like what was your process from going from feeling anxiety and depression to going to kind of like dealing with it? Like did you have your sister's help? Like what was your transition period to saying like okay, I need to get some like help with this?
I think where I really realized that I need to get help was last summer. Last summer, um, I went like during lockdown. I think it was really bad. Like because
Mm.
it was the period I was always scared to go into school because I was like scared, like how would people judge me, because I was in that position, or like I ended up there, that I want to be like somewhere else. I dressed like all the people in my class. I acted like them. I tried to buy the same clothes as them. That's how bad it got, and I kind of lost my identity there. That's like how I lost all my hobbies. And when we went into the first lockdown, I wanted to stuff that makes me happy. Like I went back into gaming and stuff, but it was so monotone my day. It was like studying, gaming, eating, sleep, showering and stuff. And then I was like, who am I? And I tried to go into it, but the more I went into it, I got kind of scared because I was never able to develop myself. So I was like, who am I? And wow, why do I have so much time now for myself? Because back then I spent like good 10 hours a day at school, and then went home, did homework, eat, practice piano, back into it. But now that I don't have any classes to attend and barely any responsibilities, okay, I did, but like I had much more free time. I tried to go to know myself, and it was kind of hard. And then I felt like I was very unhappy with the things I did, and then also a lot of hobbies. And that's what I expressed to my therapist at the first meeting we had. Like, I have no fun in life, and wherever I go, I panic. And I had like those weird panic attacks before exams or like important days. Like when I had my first job interview, I panicked so much. Or I don't know, it's just like I think I experienced stuff that made me panic a lot, or just the coping mechanism, because I had a bully back then. She was I don't know how to say it, but she threatened me that she would cut my hair off, because back then I had like really long hair as a child, because I really liked it. It made me like, you can hide behind long hair, you know, you can just put it over like
Yeah, like
what the curtains and hide.
like a shield.
And she was always threatening. Yeah. And when we had like sport class, it was really bad. She was like, if I lose the game, if my team lose against you, I will cut your hair off, I will rip your clothes and stuff. And I told my teacher, and she was super shocked. But when we went into like the office of, what do you call it? The principal office, they just said like, Ellen, you're overreacting. I'm like, this girl threatened to cut my hair off. She threatened to kill me. Oh, she really did threaten. She broke my pen, and I told her, hey, you broke my pen. Could you get me a new one? Because I'm scared to ask my parents, because they just bought me this. And she just broke it. And I was like, hey, can you give me a new pen? And she was like, she picked up her book, and she ran after me like this. And I was really scared back then.
Wow.
I think I was around 12. And my teacher just looked at me, and she didn't do anything. And this is the moment I realized, like, I don't get any help here. And I just deal with it.
Fuck. That's insane to go through, especially when you're talking to like teachers or your parents, and you're like I'm going through this stuff, like I need to talk about it with someone, and then they're like it's, you know, they don't respond to it, or they say it's not a big deal, or they're just kind of like, wow, that's a weird situation, and like nobody's like dealing with it. It's like shocking to hear.
I mean, it's weird, right? But it's a 12-year-old that says it. Now that I went through it, I would believe my child. But if my child, I think it's kind of like an unbelievable story, because what a 12-year-old would threaten another to kill them, you know? Do you have to bleep out those words?
No, it's fine. I mean, like you
I'm
said,
just
as a
trying to lighten
12-year-old,
the
if
mood.
you're,
I don't know.
I think it's powerful. I would imagine, especially from like my own experiences or witnessing my own experiences, like people get bullied like everywhere for different reasons. There was like kids in my school that were picked on, and at the time I didn't realize that it was what it was. But looking back, you're like, fuck, that kid got a lot of shit. Like a hell of a lot of shit. I'm sure there was like, I think everybody kind of. No, go on. Yeah, you're gonna say
No,
something.
no. I was just listening. No,
Oh
my
no.
nose is running because I was at the edge of crying, because whenever I tell the story, it's just a natural reaction of mine to, like, I kind of tear up, because it's like I don't know.
Yeah, understandably. It like everything that you've just said, all the story you've told, just constantly being in a place of, um, without kind of like victimizing, without like just being on your own, having to deal with stuff like yourself, like being in some fucking terrifying situations where the impact of that is gonna last for so many years. And like, how do you feel about those people now? I know you said you had compassion for them, and you're like they were probably going through their own stuff. Like, have you been able to do you like still think about it? Do you forgive them for what they did? Are you um like how do you kind of feel about it now that you're going through the process of untangling it all with therapy and things like that?
I think I'll 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 just forgive them. I saw one of them in the bus last time because Vienna is really small. Oh, I just doxed
Hmm.
myself, but the city
Austria.
I'm living in is really small.
Yeah.
Austria is it's kind of small actually. But I saw them on the bus and they were just greeting me and I greeted them back. They were like really nice. They were like, "How are you? How are things doing?" I think it was just, I don't think they realized how bad of the impact it made on me. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know if I could call it bullying, but for me it was kind of bullying because, those things, you don't do it normally. You wouldn't treat another person like this. But I
Mm.
don't
You
think
wouldn't,
they meant
especially
it that
you
way.
wouldn't do. Yeah.
Children. Like I did things as well that I regret as a child.
Mm.
And as long as they don't do it right now, I think I would forgive them. I
Do
mean,
you think they've learnt
we
the
all grow
lesson?
up, right? And
Mm.
don't know. Not real. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think this one girl that threatened me, right? She left school like after all this year because I think at that point my whole class realized what a crazy person she is. Because it was just me at the beginning, but later she got into fights with multiple people. And I
Mm.
did see that she learned all those things from her mother because in front of our school there isn't a lot of parking space. And when we had like those parents teacher nights, the parents were there, and one of my friend told me that her mother like parked in front of her mother, and she, like took the parking spot away, and she
Mm.
threatened that mother to scratch her car with a knife that she got into her pocket. And that's why I see like children don't, you don't, they learn it from their parents. Like if their parent is like this, they will learn it from them. If they
Mm.
don't have
Like
people that
sponges.
teach them another way, like for me, I could have ended up the same way because my parents fighted a lot, but I had like that person that supported me and told me like, hey, this isn't right. You shouldn't be aggressive and stuff. It was my sister, and
Mm.
actually, big props to her because we're just 4 years apart, and that she knows that much, even though she was actually on her own for 4 years, is really really respectable.
I think you probably were there for like I'm sure she went through hard times and you were there for her in like your own way as well. Like it seems like you're very you have a sister to sister bond where you would have definitely like she definitely would have been there for you or like had friends as well as but yeah it feels especially being in the family because you two know the experience like nobody else does, so you've only kind of got each other in that kind of situation. It's like horrible and beautiful at the same time. It's hard to explore. If someone was going through something similar, whether they were being bullied or picked on to whatever degree that was, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would just tell them you're very strong that you go through it, because my therapist told me those people are mostly just jealous and they try to pull you down to put themselves above you. And to be at that height that someone has to pull you down, this means you're strong and that you're someone they want to compete with. And just, I want them to know like, hey, you you're great and you're strong and people are jealous of you. Maybe, I don't know, it's, and maybe try to be friends with them. Sometimes they turn out to be kind of nice, but I know it's scary. mm, just know that you're kind of strong to go through it, and it will take a time to process it and heal from it. But know that you are super strong. Like, if you went through it, you're you're great. Keep your head
Do
up.
you keep your head up? Yeah, it
I
like you
don't know.
said, people grow up. People grow up. It gets
I'm still
processed.
not that confident, you know.
Do you feel like you're
I would
strong?
say I'm
Like when
not
you
like
would.
through the whole process.
No, for sure. I think that's why it's interesting to have this conversation at at this point because you're kind of in the transition period. Like you're kind of like we said, you're going to therapy. You're unpicking everything. You're trying to understand, like who you are. I kind of wanted to dive into that more when you said like during lockdown, you're like, who am I? You kind of had an eye opening like wow like who am I, like I'm trying to be this person in school, I'm trying to be this person for my parents, I'm trying to do mold myself into this shape, but that's not actually who I am.
Yeah. Like,
So like kind of no, go.
oh, so I had the option because I think I was 16, 17, and my sister just recently moved out, and she had like a spare room. That's this apartment. This is everything
Mm,
that happened in here. My parents didn't move out with us because they stayed back then because it was like COVID and stuff, and they didn't want me to get it because I have like a bad immune system, and they just wanted to for me to stay safe. So I lived here
mhm,
with my sister alone. And this is the time where I realized like, oh, I've been doing so much, and oh, this was the period I have to like search up a degree because we had like those teacher talks where we were like, what degree do you want to get into? Your teacher will help you and stuff. But I was like, I really don't know. And then I was like, I really want to go into film school, but I just realized it was so unsafe. And I was like, really, you know how we see like all those influences and we want to like be like them. And this is
mm,
how I turned into like the toxic person. Like, I got into like an eating disorder. I think it was before I was already like into this eating disorder thing because I was on Instagram and stuff. But I just I just turned my back to my parents. I was like, I'm not gonna live my life for you anymore, and then not my friends because I never turned on my camera during like the meetings.
mm.
And then I tried just to live how I want to live. And this made me realize like I've been doing a lot of stuff for other people because I had so much time for myself. But yeah, it was like an up and down and up and down. Like, oh,
Yeah, for sure, for
wait.
sure. It's I feel like you're so wise beyond your years. I think when you say you've grown up, you've had to grow up fast. I think that's so. I think it's so true though. Like I think it's freaking incredible, how you like your process. Like you said, it's been up and down, and I'm sure there have been times where it's been really, really, really hard. I mean, you've said yourself there were times where it's really hard. It's interesting what you say about social media. Do you feel like social media played a very big part? So obviously when you're in school, kind of are looking different, there are people like making that an obvious fact to you, and you're trying to fit in and fit the mold where you kind of fit into that group. And then you've got social media, which is like a whole nother set of rules with how people look, how people live their lives, like how they eat, how they dress, all that stuff. Was it like a very similar situation? Like you'd go on, say, Instagram and see um, people, and you'd be like, oh, now I need to fit this group.
Yeah, definitely. I was in a friend group as well. There was like kind of social media focused, and
Mm,
they were like all skinny, all pretty, and like super confident. And this is why I was friends with them. I really wanted to gain that confidence that they had because it was like straight out of middle school. It was, I think, straight after middle school where I
what sort of
was
age
meeting
is
new
that?
people. This was like, oh God, I think around 15, but it was like
Mm,
multiple years prior to lockdown, so I will just keep back then the roll back. This is where I think got into my first eating disorder,
mm,
and this kind of repeated itself again. Now not through like the it was never pressure, I guess, or maybe I just a lot of times I don't want to admit it. I don't know. I don't want to put those people into a bad spot because you know how people you have good and bad experience with, and I want to like
mhm.
take the good experience and just take the good experience because you learn from the bad ones, and I
Everyone
was
makes
kind of
mistakes.
like,
Everyone does bad things. You can't like
yeah,
hold it against them.
that's
Yeah,
the
I
way
feel that.
I try to see things. And during the lockdown, I realized like, oh my god, I'm really unhappy with my body and stuff. And then I went into like the whole cycle of, oh, I see this girl on Instagram, she looks so gorgeous, and I went after her meal plan, did so much sport and stuff at home. It was crazy.
So you kind of focus through cycle through finding new people, and saying, oh, like I want to be like this now, and kind of like constantly being in this spin of sort of chasing this
Yeah,
vision.
and especially during lockdown, a lot of people were making those videos like my glow up during lockdown, like because they had so much time, and I wanted to experience the same thing. I wanted to, like, from the one day of another, I wanted to be like, I'm so much confident now. I changed my hair, I do sport, I eat healthier and stuff. But it was just so toxic because I realized again, like, this isn't me. I just want to be another person again. I want to experience it as well. And yeah, it's like, you know, like I always try to fit in somewhere because I never felt like I fit in somewhere.
It's a very
Yeah.
natural human thing to like want to be a part of whatever community or like tribe or whatever your um is in your vicinity. Like it's a human instinct. Like obviously humans do better in communities. Well, maybe we've obviously come a long way since living in caves and stuff. So
No, that's actually
it's
true. That's actually true.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
because I
like
read a
a
book called Sapiens.
yeah, me too. It's the same thing.
Oh, I'm promoting
Something.
something.
No, I would highly recommend people read it. It's very very interesting. Um,
It's
but
really
yeah,
good.
no, explain it in how you took it.
Oh, just like people feel stronger in the groups. That's why bullies are never alone. And though I think they mentioned in the book like the only way how apes or like the sapiens. I don't know. It's so Germanly pronounced. Help.
No,
How do you
you're
pronounce it in
spot
English? I pronounce it in the most German way. Yeah, I see.
Sapiens.
Sapiens. It would be so weird. Sapiens.
No, I mean
Yeah,
we
they
all know what you
just
mean.
feel stronger.
Well, understandably, like I'm sure. I think how they describe it in the book, like if you were like in the woods hunting animal for food and you fell down and broke your leg, if you're on your own, you're screwed. Like there's not really anything you can do about it. Whereas if you're in a community, you look after other people look after you. Like it's a very human instinct to be social. Like we wouldn't be where we are without being social. So having things like Instagram kind of taps into that because you're part of like an entire network of human beings, and like obviously if there are people in there that are being successful, or are higher up in like in terms of like status, then obviously you kind of look at them and you're like, wow, I want to be like that because then I will be more accepted, especially like based on all your other experiences like in the past. It kind of makes sense. I think what I'm curious about is how you are in the process of differentiating like what makes you you and what makes you fit in like a mold. So if you see something on Instagram that you like or you aspire to be, or you're like, wow, that person's gorgeous, is very confident, like I want to be like that. How do you differentiate that and finding that within yourself, but in a way that's actually true to you?
I think like I still try to copy people actually. I still I'm not in. I feel like I'm not so confident with myself that I'm not trying to be like that. I'd be like 100% confident to say like I'm me, and yeah, that's why I don't post on Instagram anymore like that
I
often and stuff. I don't. I rarely share anything.
I think it's important though. I think a lot if you're kind of stuck and you're unsure of who you are, the best thing you can do is emulate other people that you aspire to be. When it came to streaming, I remember watching a video when I started streaming. I think it was like Ludwig or someone like that, and he said pick 5 streamers that you really like, and then you can kind of like choose what you like about them, and then you can kind of adopt your own style, and then through experience you'll find yourself. And I think that can apply in like any walk in life. I said, if you're like, what do I like? Do I like music? Do I like film editing? Do I like law studies? Like you can kind of see things that you like and take them on board, and through experience and exploring it, you can kind of find yourself. And I feel like you, from what you've said, you're in a place now where you're figuring that out. You're figuring out what works. You're figuring out what doesn't work. And I think a lot of people are going through something similar where you're like, oh, I really want to, like, even with podcasts, I look at someone online who's doing a podcast, and I'm like, I've been watching a lot of the Russell Brand podcast recently, and I'm like, wow, like regardless of his content, the way that he does things, I'm like, that really works. I really like what he's doing, and you kind of like want to emulate that, and then obviously you'll find your style there. But there's a very, like you say, it can be a bit of a toxic trap where you're trying so hard to be something that you're not, and then you end up losing sight of yourself. But it feels like you're maybe it's your past that made you very aware that that's happening. Like, it's
Yeah,
very...
for sure.
No, carry on.
Oh.
I love it. It's so interesting listening to you speak
I
about
just
it all. Like, you're so good at this, by the way. I wasn't prepared at all for like the whole like story. We had like obviously all the notes and stuff written up, and I wasn't prepared for like a whole. I'm like blown away by it, honestly. I think it's so inspiring. Like, from the bottom of my heart, like, I had no idea of
Thank
what
you.
you've kind of been through beforehand. Like we said, we were going to talk about mental health, and we were like, okay, yeah, we can touch on that. And I'm like, wow, like,
Now we're
this
into
is...
the bullying.
Yeah, and I feel,
We can do
especially
2
online,
episodes.
there 2 episodes, yeah, we'll just like go across the board. You hear so many horror stories, especially online. Like, if you get, like, I'm terrified, not terrified, but I'm very conscious of the fact that if you start to grow in the content space, you will get haters, you will get trolls, you will get people that try and pull you down. In school, it's very common. You hear horror stories all the line about kids that are like on whatever platform, and they're getting bullied by people at school, and they end up like going down really, really dark paths, you know, like the really worst case scenarios. And I feel like it's very... You've got like, that's like one thing, and then you've got the pressure from society, the pressure from social media, the pressure from your parents, the pressure from your friends, is all like, you're trying to be yourself, and then everybody else is like, but you've got to be this, and you're like looking, you know, oh, if I'm going to post on Instagram, what if it gets like one like, oh, that's just kind of saying, oh, I'm not accepted, or, you know, if I do bad in the test, like, I don't deserve to be in this university because I'm not up to scratch with it. There's always these, like, this massive pressure from all sides, and you're like, I'm just trying to be me, like, please. You know, and the fact that you're navigating that so wisely, is wisely a word? So wisely and so
I think so.
grounded. Yeah, 100%. Like, you seem to be so mindful with it, and so calm, and the fact that you can forgive and have compassion for those who are taking more volatile approaches through bullying or through toxicity is like, it's so inspiring to me, honestly. Like,
I
I
mean,
could just
if
sit here and
those
listen to you all day.
people have the courage to come up and say, I'm sorry, or like, I would feel embarrassed to talk to someone I bullied before. I don't know. I just don't want to confront. Like, if I confront someone where I did something bad and I have to, like, look into someone where I did a big mistake, I feel embarrassed. But if they have the courage to face their mistake, like, I don't know if I make a mistake, but like, where they did a mistake, they have the courage to talk to me again, it's like a whole step. And why not? Like, if they're being nice to me after being bad to me, I know it's like kind of gaslighting and stuff, but like, if I feel like they really changed, why wouldn't I give them the chance to prove it to me?
And I suppose you know yourself that people change all the time. Like, it's always up and down.
Yeah.
Like, you never know what that person was going through to have done that to you. And even though it's horrible that they did that, you can still have the compassion to say, well, you were probably going through some shit. Like, man, I'm honestly in awe, like,
I
of
mean,
just how...
it's not something I was like, when I was 7, I was like, I know this. It took years, you know? Like, at first I was just sad about it, and then after, you know, I didn't just get bullied in school. Like, in public space, I get to face racism all the time. And you kind of see, like, which people do this. Like, normal people with, like, an open-minded space wouldn't do this, but you kind of see, like, people, like, I think a lot of times, not only elderly people, but most of the times, like, those people were like elderly, or you can see that they're kind of uneducated somehow. I know it sounds so weird to stereotype them, but
But
those
yeah, I know
elderly
what you mean.
people, when I talk to my parents, they went through like war or something, like where they were treated treated badly because of their race, or like something about this, and they just apply it again. Like children use it when they learn it from their parents, and other people learn it from, like, I don't know how to say it. Wait, I forgot to open the translation page. I
No,
said it
no,
yesterday,
take
but
time.
wait, what is it
I'm
called? I think it's called society, but
yeah,
like the
like
people around them.
yeah. That works. Society definitely works. Mate, my chair keeps dropping. It's like the little hydraulic thing's like broken, so it keeps going down. It keeps shrinking. It keeps like just slowly through the podcast, like going down and down and down.
I
Um,
time lapse.
just slowly like time lapse like down here. I'm like hit the lever and like pull it back up. Um, yeah, society. What were you saying? Like you know that they've, like you were saying with the kids learning it from their parents. Like whole generations of people have been through hardships and they apply their same experiences in their day-to-day life. Do you still experience the racism like now? Is it common now?
I mean, it's gotten a little bit less, but at the beginning of the pandemic, bro, I I
Oh,
did
of
actually
course.
tell it in an interview again, but I faced so much racism during the time. Like I still remember the first 2 days when like all the things broke out. My parents actually they just returned from China, but we lived apart. Like I lived here
Hmm.
and my parents lived there, and they were like quarantining themselves, and they felt like kind of scared that people know they were Chinese, and they told me like, Ellen, don't tell your classmates that we just returned from China because they will exclude you and stuff. And like, saying this, it made my
Like
heart
very
ache.
worried about it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because I was worried about them not getting back from China because there were like all the airports closed, and I had to get them out there. And then they're now back into Vienna, and they have they told me like, oh, don't tell them this, don't tell them that, and this will make you get bullied again and stuff. And I was like, I don't really care at this point because it was, I kind of grew up a little bit, and I don't really care anymore, like those
Mm.
people.
Understandably, as a
And
parent, though, you
then
don't want your child to go through that. Like,
again, yeah, after they seen,
so it's understandable, but yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But in the bus, there's morning traffic, a lot of people take the bus. It was very crowded. And I just realized a lot of people, they were building a circle around me. Like, there was a lot of space. Normally, there were, like, people against people's back. And,
Hmm.
like, it's really, what do you call it? Loaded in there? I don't know. And they were just really taking space from me. And I was like, okay, great for me, and not people trying to infect me with COVID. But then this one woman said to me like, "Go back to your country. You're
Fuck.
so disgusting. You're the virus and stuff." And for me, like, I tried to ignore it for like 2 stations, but it takes me like 7 stations to get to school. And then
Mm.
after I was like, okay, I'm not dealing with this. Not especially not in the morning. I was tired, and I'm in the morning. I'm like really tired, and I really hate to fight in public or like get into a discussion. And
Yeah,
then I
it's
just went out of the
attention
bus.
like on you.
Yeah, and I went by foot to my school because it isn't that far. I'm just lazy in the morning. And I cried my whole way there. And
Mm.
yeah, that's something like it really made a I really cried a lot. And when I went back, I told my parents, and they just told me that I should get out earlier, maybe go by foot every day now these days. I mean, it was better for my health, of course, but like that this was the reason for me to not take the bus was kind of weird. Um, because it didn't just happen once; it happens like twice, and this made me like question like where do I belong and stuff. Because people like tell me to go back home, but I'm like a citizen of Austria.
Like you were born in Austria. Like yeah, like you've never been anywhere. Like home has always been Austria. Yeah, it's very. What sort of mindset does that put you in? Like when someone, especially like when you're in school and you look back on it and you're like, okay, it's in school. Like a lot of people also got bullied for other reasons. But when it's in public and it is actually like singling you out, like what kind of thoughts go through your head?
I'm actually mad, but I never show it. It just makes me mad that people still do it because
Mm.
Austria
It's
was like
disappointing.
kind of part of, yeah. And I thought we learned from history because yeah, no,
Mm.
Austria was part of the World War, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, of
with
course.
Germany, and I thought they they learn from the past not to single out people, not to do this to certain people. I don't want to compare myself with them, of course. I just thought they learned from the past. And then um, it wasn't just in the bus. It was like in the supermarket. People were taking space from me. Oh, I still remember that one woman. She was like super close to the woman in the front, but taking like, I think up to 3 meters space from me. And she was like, "Excuse me, could you take another? Could you not stand behind me?" And I was like, "It's okay, whatever you want. Please don't talk to me.
Yeah, just leave me
Like I'm not
alone,
a
please.
virus, you know."
It's when you say like
And till then,
uneducated, I know
I
what you
still
mean.
haven't caught it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
out of all,
I
well,
still
that's what I
haven't
mean.
got it.
It's like it's ridiculous that to us it's ridiculous. I see what you mean by kind of uneducated because it's like they are looking at you at face value and saying like, especially like you said, beginning of COVID, there was a lot of as in the UK as well, especially around London areas, there was a lot of like hate, not like hate crimes, but I suppose it was hate crimes, like people singling out like Chinese like communities and individuals. There was like horror stories of people like getting like so much abuse for being Chinese, even when they hadn't ever been to China themselves. It was just like that they were like citizens of the UK, and like to speak to you that's like gone through it is it's shocking that people can't make the distinction between like a virus that originates from somewhere and an individual human being that just so happens to have origins in that country, like genetic origins in that country. And it's like come on, engage the brain. Like it doesn't mean that, oh god, it's, I can see what you mean. Like I understandably like anger or feeling mad towards them because it's like, please just like and it seems like you've had that throughout your whole life. You're like, just talk to me. Like I'm not even that bad. Like I'm just a human being, like trying to be me in this big fucking crazy world. Like as soon as you talk to me, like you spoke to your bullet, it's like you understand that like I'm just a human being. And like
Yeah,
I feel like you may even know yourself far greater than you may realize, because throughout everything you've still managed to be like, well, I'm just me. I don't know. Like it seems like you have a very strong grip on that aspect of things. Like you're very good at reminding yourself that that's the case, especially with so much. Like it's shocking to me how repetitive it's been from like a young age, and it's always kind of revolved around like physical, like your race or your weight or anything like that. It's always been like an image thing rather than, and nobody seems to be taking the time to like know you as a person. I'm just blown away. So now that COVID's kind of we're on the tail end of COVID, has that sort of stuff calmed down with like it's
hopefully.
like in public? Hopefully, yeah, like I just stay inside now.
Yeah,
I just
I want it to be over. I want to go out. I want to meet people
mm,
IRL
yeah, for sure, 100%.
and feel
I
safe with
think,
it.
and yeah, 100%, 100%. It's incredible. It's incredible to hear your stories, man. Like I'm genuine in awe. As I said a minute ago, like we had all these like notes and stuff, and we had the prequel, and then you just come out with, and you're like, oh, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to talk about, and all this stuff, and then you just come in and you're just like, bam, and you just lay it down on the line, and I'm like sitting here like I don't even know what to say to all this. Like I could just sit and listen to you talk because I feel so I feel so, yeah, inspired by you. Like the amount of compassion and forgiveness and perspective that you have on the world. Like people have treated you like shit, and you just take it on board, and you're like, well, love, compassion, kindness. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get mad at it, and people can be fucking dumb as fuck, but I'm you know I'm just gonna look at people in with a bit of compassion. Like they're probably going through stuff, then they're not very aware, they're not very educated, and I will just continue to kind of find myself in my own way, whatever that may be.
I told a lot of people, but I feel like everyone is born good. They must have been through something. No one is like
Mm,
naturally born and be like pissy, mad, and stuff.
no,
I cannot explain it to myself. If you see good things, you will probably turn out good. If you've been just surrounded by bad things, probably pick that up. And why don't you
mm,
give someone the option to learn the good things?
that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. Like have um, yeah, just have compassion, have a bit of love for people. I think that's super duper powerful. To kind of wrap up the episode. Firstly, I want to say massive like thank you for being that open. I feel like a lot of people, myself included, will like hear your story and be like, "Wow, like
Thank you
that's
for having me. Thank you for
no,
listening.
thank you." No, I honestly, I want to just sit here and be quiet and let you just kind of, just like go on with it. I think it's it's a lot to process, but I'm very grateful that you were that open with it. It's going to be one of those things where I think after we finish up and have the rest of the day, I'm going to be like, damn, like there's so many things that I've not even like kind of thought about or considered, and I feel very like awakened, and like my perspectives on things have just like been opened. It's like a whole massive door has been opened. So I'm incredibly grateful that you have taken the time to speak about it, and so openly and honestly. I know it's probably not easy to kind of dive down um into that rabbit hole, but you did so
It's
very
fine.
eloquently, for sure. What
Oh, that's a fancy word.
is that the one we used yesterday, wasn't it? I tried to like eloquently.
No, no, I know the word eloquent. We use it in German. It's like the
Okay.
same word. That's why I know it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you used it yesterday. What are you looking at going into the future? What does the future look like for you? I would love to catch up and like do another one of these in like 2 years or 3 years and like see your journey for sure.
Probably just growing more, getting to know myself better.
Mm,
Maybe I think one thing that helped me a lot is meeting new people, seeing more perspective, because the more you can have from other people, the more open you are. Like you need to get multiple perspectives. Like I really like to listen to a lot of things. Like even if it's just really racist stuff, I want to know why they're racist. I want to know why they're mean.
unbiased. That's beautiful. You said as well you wanted to travel a lot.
Yeah, see new cultures, learn more. Yeah, just be open to what comes up to me, because I think the more I plan things, it will never go as planned. Like I have to accept that things will go its way either way, even it will probably never stick to a plan, but I have to be open for stuff. Because when I look back, I would never expect myself to be here right now. Like so open and stuff.
It's
Even
it's
yeah.
it's really
I would never
beautiful. Like you're,
expected it.
I mean, you're a testament to yourself, and yeah, it's incredible. Like genuinely incredible. It's honestly inspiring. I feel like a lot of people will listen to this and be like, "Wow!" Like showing love, showing a lot of compassion, taking perspectives, being open. I think that's very important now to consider, especially with things like the world stage, politics, and things like that. People are very divisive. People don't listen to each other. People are like wrapped up in their own little worlds. Like with the COVID thing, like people look at you and they're like, "Oh, she's Chinese. Like she's the origin of COVID. She's ruining our lives." And it's like they're not even giving you a chance to be you and to say, "Oh, actually, like you're just a human being. Oh, you've lived here in Austria all your life. Oh, okay. Well, I think there's a lot of lessons, and I think it's a very awesome perspective that you have on the world. Is there anything you want to say before we kind of wrap it up? I could do this all day, but
Have a
like
nice
just
day.
time wise, have a beautiful, just having that just hard cut there. Like,
I don't know. Thank you for listening. Can I do the end?
thank you. You want to
Just
do the yeah?
kidding.
No,
No,
absolutely.
you do.
No, go on. I'm curious.
Thank you for listening. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
To bullet point would be I'll say thank you first because honestly I'm so grateful that we had this conversation. I know we were kind of nervous to begin with, but I was not expecting like such a powerful like you've honestly blown me away. I'm like I said, I'm gonna go for a walk now and just kind of not decompress but like process everything, and I'm honestly super grateful. Do you feel more comfortable now? Do you feel like you're settled in?
Yes, I could do it open hours. Now that I'm like
I,
calm again.
I would love to do another one
Let's do more.
at
I
some
want
point.
more.
I want to hear more. It's just like time wise, I'm like like we could go on for ages, but
Nah,
we
it's
should
fine.
definitely do another one. Wait, no, you do it. Hey, go on. If you want to do it, you can do
Subscribe, follow. I'm so bad at it. I would never do this.
it. I'm
Ah.
so bad at it as well. It's so weird because it's something that comes with experience. But I guess if you're still listening now, um, thank you for getting this far. I hope you enjoyed listening to Ellen. Like we said before, I'm blown away. I still can't get over it. There's so much to think about. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our conversation. I hope that you got something out of it, whether you were entertained or inspired or whatever come from it. If you want to leave thoughts or ideas or questions in the comments, I would love to hear them and answer them and kind of have that discussion. I will do the classic, put links in the description.
Links in the
Or wherever it is.
description.
Links in the description or like on the screen somewhere. Like we could do something like that. But no, thank you for coming on. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something from it. Obviously, like we said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll be coming out with a new episode. I think I'm going to be releasing these every 7 days. So like every one a week for now. And then we'll see how it goes. So expect another episode next week. You can find me on all the usual places. Anything to say before we wrap up? Any final points? Have a nice day. Relax.
Be excited for the new one. And have a nice day, yeah. Be
And have
excited
a
for the
nice
next
day.
episode. Because
Awesome. Thank you.
nice day, yeah. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. All right. See you guys later. Bye. 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 Bye.